Hello and welcome. This is Super Evolution. Ming asked Ming He why does he have to do all of that, and then asked him how old is he. He also tells him that the train attendants are professionally trained, and so why does he have to tell them what to do? Ming He tells him that he is just being careful, and then asks Ming if the fog will make the train stop working. He said no, since the train runs on tracks, and as long as there is no problems with the train, it will keep going. Ming He asked if the train detected something on the tracks, and maybe that's the reason why it automatically stopped. Ming says that it shouldn't be a big deal since it's most likely an animal. Well, little did they know. He says that they set up fences to keep out animals, but some will get through here and there. Ming He and Fang hope Ming is right. We switch back to the train, and Tan thinks to herself that she hopes everything is going well outside. She then sees a girl outside and questions it. She then asks the girl why is she outside alone, and then says to come inside. She grabs the handle and then thinks about what Ming He said, so she let go of the handle. Out of nowhere, a guy comes around and asks why is there a girl outside, and tells Tan to let her in fast. Tan can't see clearly, but the guy keeps nagging on to let the girl in since she might be a little girl and must be scared. She tells him not to open the door since the superhumans told her not to open it unless it's them. She says that when the train stopped, all the doors were locked, so it's not possible for someone to get off the train. The man starts getting angry and asks her how can she be so cold since the person outside is asking for help. By the way, the person never asked for help or even said anything, so she could have just said that. Tan stands her ground and tells the guy to wait for the superhumans to come back. He then tells her that she is selfish and he will open the doors since she won't. She tells him not to do it while grabbing his shoulder, but the guy snaps at her and throws her on the floor. Apparently, she asked for it, and then the guy thinks that he is in the right by helping someone. So the idiot guy opens up the door and asks the girl to come inside since that's the type of person he is. He puts his hand out just to realize that it was a monster and looks like he will piss himself just from that. The Medusa type monster wraps her tentacles around the guy and he gets taken away. Okay, but could we be honest here? He really did deserve to get taken away. The first off, putting his hands on a woman, like what's wrong with you? She gets up and then thinks about all the passengers, so she turns around and goes to close the door. The tentacles grab onto her and she looks while getting pulled out, but she closes the door before getting taken away. Her eyes start to water while she probably thinks about why the old dude did what he did. We switch to some passengers on the train and they ask how long is it going to take since they're on a tight schedule. Another attendant tells them to wait since they're still inspecting the train. She asks where Tan went and thinks of her being sloppy while working. She sees that the door isn't even locked and then locks it. The tentacles outside goes for the handle, but since it's locked now, it starts to retreat. We switch over to Ming He and he sees massive tracks of an organism. He thinks it's a calamity beast while inspecting the tracks. Some of the rocks fall onto the track, but he manages to get a signal up there. Ming He gets a phone call from Commander Luo. She says that he finally picked up. He tells her that something happened on his end, so she checked his location. He tells her that he was on the train, but it stopped since there was fog everywhere, and also the train crew didn't get in contact with anyone because there was no signal. She asked if the train could still run, which he replied with a yes since there isn't anything wrong with the train, but the only things that are blocking the way, so they're gonna have to go on and move the stuff. He tells her that it's too foggy and no signal, which is making the train crew hesitant to start up the train. She tells him that it's good and to listen up. So she tells him to tell the train crew to start up the train immediately once they clear all the stuff that is blocking the tracks, since they should leave as soon as possible. Ming He asked if there was anything he could do, which she replied with if he leaves now it won't be too late, but if he stays it will be more troublesome. He starts to ask about the fog, but she tells him not to ask so many questions, since it'll be hard for him to handle. He must ensure the safety of all the people on the train and to leave the area as fast as possible. He asked if it was really that serious and then said okay while he hanged up the phone. He lands next to Ming and he calls him a sneaky bastard since he let them do all the grunt work. He starts to hype up Fang for being a future pillar of the Superhuman Institute, but Ming He cuts him off saying that they need to leave immediately. He tells him about the call he made to the officials and they are ordering them to leave. Fang asks Ming He how he got a signal, so he just told her that the mountains are high enough to get a signal. He tells her that he found tracks of a massive calamity-sized beast. and it must have knocked down the rocks. She asked if he was for real, but Ming He said that he has no reason to lie, so they need to leave quickly since the fog could be the high-ranked calamity, so they must ensure everyone's safety on the train. Fang thinks about her mom still being on that train, so the three of them start to run, but Ming He tells them that once they get there, they'll need to tell the conductors to start the train and leave. Chi Ming somehow managed to trip on something and falls to the floor. He complains about how he almost lost a tooth, and then he sees a head laying right next to him. He gets frightened, and then we see the tentacles coming towards Ming He and Fang. Ming He catches on and then grabs Fang's arm and moves her out the way. We see the Medusa-type monster and she starts smiling. Chi Ming starts holding on to the body he found on the ground and calls the monster a monster. Ming He tells Chi Ming to find a place to hide, so he nods in agreement. Fang tells Ming He that she will help him out, but the monster isn't waiting around, so she gets into a charged stance and then throws out her hair tentacles. Ming He dodges, but Fang gets hit. He noticed that she got smacked up by just one hit, so he tells her just to go hide since she's a side character. Fang tells him that he's just a rank above her, so he can't be that strong. Listen, Fang, I don't know what you've been smoking, but have you seen this dude? Like, he is the main character after all. Like, what are you gonna do? You're just a side piece. Like, come on, let's get with the program. Ming He asks the monster why it binded his body, but she launches him towards her. He thinks that it's perfect since it has pretty good speed, so he throws a rapid flying punch and smacks the monster in the face. Fang can't believe how strong Ming He's punch was and thinks of it as something stronger than a starlight rank. The monster gets all mad and gets a power-up, so now her hair is all black and her face looks more ugly. The monster starts to launch another attack at Ming He, but he starts to throw a bunch of punches of his own at the tentacles. Fang looks with shock and surprise since she can't see any of the punches coming from Ming He. He gets close to the monster and then throws a punch at her stomach. He then sees something and finds out that a person was inside and questions it. We see that it is the train attendant and Ming He is shocked. So he rips her out of the stomach, but he feels like he is starting to drown. He asked if she was still alive, but Fang told Ming He that the monster is running away. He told her not to worry about it since they need to save Tan, and he tells her that she is still breathing. Fang looks with disgust and thinks that Tan is really dirty. Ming He starts to do mouth-to-mouth and pumping her chest. We see Chi Ming running while asking where the monster went and also said someone died. We see Tan cough up some type of liquid while someone opens up the door to the train telling them to get on. We see the other attendant calling out Tan's name and asking what happened to her. Tan starts to talk and says that she didn't let the monster in, but Ming He cuts her off and tells her they could talk later. Everyone is on the train, so they start to close the door. Someone calls out to start the train, and so they take off and pass a part of the fog. Afterwards, in Xiaoshi, we see a shadow and get some dialogue about how a month ago the officials detected a presence of a calamity meteor. It was in the forest around Nanda's western suburbs. By the way, guys, I'm really sorry if I'm butchering any of these names. I really am trying my best. Also, around that time, the astronomy team didn't detect any forms of life from the calamity meteor. We then see Lin Qingyu talking on the phone with Commander Luo. By the way, it's gonna be hard for me to tell who's talking here, so just a warning, I'm trying my best to see who's actually talking, but yeah. Commander Luo tells him that according to the investigation, the appearance of a large amount of steam is near the crater, but other than that, there are no other abnormalities. Since the Xishan Industrial Park was heavily impacted, the astronomy team is speculating that this calamity is something they've never seen before. The higher-ups ended naming the beast the Mist. Lin understood and says the fog movements varies, but it mostly comes around the mountain range he is on, and the mysterious calamity appeared in the area. He tells her at the same time when the fog disappears, all the calamity beasts that are in the fog will disappear as well. Luo tells him that according to the people who accidentally entered the fog, there is a massive calamity beast in the fog, and it might be an emperor-class beast. She says that the situation he is tracing is quite unusual and just moments before it ended up passing through the train tracks, so it will most likely head in his direction. Lin says that Luo is right since it definitely passed through there, but thinks it's starving since it ate all the livestock in that town. Luo says that it's good they told the people of Xiaoshi to leave in advance. Lin thinks to himself that he found the shell of an insect that molted. She tells him that the people on the train has also safely departed. He asks her if there were any survivors in Shishan Park, which she replies with a no. He says that they will need to investigate what the fog is and what is in it, or else if anyone comes there, they won't be able to survive. She tells him that when someone enters the fog, they will lose their sense of direction and might think they're in a different world. She says what makes their investigation extremely difficult is the calamity beast within the fog, since it could disappear without a trace when the fog disperses. If it weren't for the incident which apparently gave them a breakthrough, they will still know nothing about the fog. Lin questions what was the incident. He then gets a picture on his phone which is a centipede, and Luo tells him that this is the clue provided by the research team. They ended up losing a patterned centipede called Lian Pu around a half a year ago. By the way, I just searched up Lian Pu pattern centipede, and that's actually a thing. Like, it's a Chinese, centipede. Like, who would have thought? She says that later they found the centipede because of the tracking chip they placed in it. The centipede was hidden in a cave near Shishan. Lin thinks that they shouldn't call it an insect since it's quite massive. Luo told him that because it hid in a cave, the research team wasn't able to capture it, so they just left it alone. She also says that the cave is close to the Shishan Park. He asked if the centipede isn't a residence of the fog. She told him that it is, but it's the only thing that is still living in the fog. And the research team found out that it changed its direction and then notified them immediately. He thinks that it's the only witness and survivor, so when they capture it alive, they could finally understand what happened within the fog. She says that he is right, and currently the only information is what's going on outside of the fog, but nothing about what's going on inside of the fog. They keep going on about how and things and that about the fog and the centipede. Lin said that he will bring it back, but Luo tells him that it might have changed since it's been in the fog. We then see the centipede, and Luo heard something coming from Lin's end. He questions how they could call this a small centipede and looks up at it. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed this video.